the pole, and he will be first to finish tonight.
Chase Elliott scores the win.
We are 102.5 and 106.3.
William Byron has won the Daytona.
Happy Saturday, Nashville. Welcome into another edition of 4's Company. Nick Keyser, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman behind the glass this morning, coming at you live from our big old cold studio where it's been real hot this week here in Nashville. So glad to be with you guys this morning. We have lots to dive into, plenty of conversation around the Tennessee Titans. No longer the off season. So good to have some big headlines to hit on. We're taking your thoughts all morning long at 615-737-1025. Fellas, let's check in. How you guys doing this week? Frazier?
Phenomenal. Doing really well, actually. Woke up feeling kind of like groggy-ish, but I was wide awake. Other than that, watching some Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
I know I sound like I just woke up.
You sound like a dad.
Sorry.
Grandpoo.
I've been awake. It's just my voice is all raspy for some reason. No, woke up, watched some Olympics. By the way, have y'all watched archery yet in the Olympics?
I watched a little bit.
Kind of electric.
Unbelievable.
Not gonna lie.
They play some just electric music on top of everybody trying to shoot at the arrows and all that whatnot. Holy cow.
It's fun.
South Korea, they're a bunch of sharpshooters.
I've been watching the 3-on-3 basketball.
Yeah.
Hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because
It is, yeah.
literally Team USA is Jimmer Fredette. If you guys remember who that is, that was the BYU superstar.
Yeah.
I was telling my brother the other day, I was like, is that Jimmer Fredette?
Yeah. I hadn't seen Jimmer in years. And then it's two Uber drivers. So
man.
it's hard to watch. They're getting
Yikes.
killed every game.
Latvia, though. Not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Latvia's not bad.
Newt, school's coming up, but
Yeah.
how is your week at Titans training camp and just this week in general, man?
It was fun, man. I really, really enjoy being out there. Tuesday was a wild day.
Yeah, it
For
was.
practice. We had some fights. I will use my platform to come out and say I was the one that rear-ended the intern in the parking lot.
Oh,
That
what
was
is this? I didn't hear about this. What do you mean?
That's okay.
It's okay. Well, long story short, I was driving the truck.
It's hard to see it through the bus.
It's hard to see through it's tinted and, the bus. And,
Had you ever driven a truck before this one?
No.
Oh boy.
So that was getting used to it. I was trying to get out of the parking lot, trying to get a good angle, and I pulled up a little too far back and
Oh my goodness.
nailed an intern's car. But here's where it gets fun.
Not nailed. More of just a touch.
Just a
A
light,
kiss.
light
Little,
little, tap.
little like love tap.
A bumper
Little
kiss,
love tap.
yeah.
Just a little
Yeah.
dent. I didn't have to
Do anything.
do anything.
Yeah.
I was out of there.
Okay.
But the fun part was Wednesday, I was in the media room eating lunch with the rest of the media, and
Mhm.
it was kind of a collective conversation, mostly led by Paul Kaharski. Did you guys hear about the guy that nailed the intern? Oh my God, never mind. The intern's car, we'll say.
Yes.
The intern's
we,
car.
We understand. Yeah.
Kelly all sitting together, and
Yeah.
we were all just kind of straight-faced.
It's like, oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It just wasn't me. But yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now you know. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I've taught Jake Wallman well.
Yes.
Busting out the Roman Reigns.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Speaking of Jake recently married man like myself. I'm 2 months in. Jake recently got married. But
I'm 2 weeks in.
yeah, I know. But
Congratulations,
how's
buddy.
everything going? You doing
Everything's
all right?
good. Yeah, I'm doing great. The married life, I think, suits me.
Does it now?
In what way? What have you noticed?
I walk on a lot more P's and Q's, walk on pins and needles.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Yes, always. But other than that, everything's great.
Good. Yeah. What let me ask you this, because obviously my experience was better than I thought it would be in terms of getting food. So did you guys struggle at all having the cake
No.
or getting the
So-
meals or anything?
No PB&Js for dinner, right?
No PB&Js for dinner.
Good.
No like waters to drink, stuff like that. Water was used in maybe a different manner.
Okay.
It's a marathon, not a sprint when you're going
Right.
to the bar.
Yeah.
But so I had a cousin recently get married in May,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife took to her as a friend, as a new family member. But when she showed up to the rehearsal that Friday, my mom looked at my cousin who had just recently got married and said, "Can you please run this show?" And she said, "Absolutely."
Mm.
And she is very hardline. We're doing this at this time, because she just got married and that's how she wanted her wedding coordinator to do it. So
Okay.
it was very like, you guys are doing, you're going to go
Right.
pictures now. Everybody's doing this. And then when we walked in after they introduced us, that's when we had our first dance. And
Nice.
then we got to sit down and she brought us our plates. So it was we were very hands off.
Yeah.
But
That's
it was,
good.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
That
All right,
was
stop
good to
talking
have.
about this. I'm sad. I'm single now.
Connor,
Hey,
you're early 20s. You got
Hey.
plenty of time.
I saw
Yes.
that reminds me. Yesterday or Thursday was National Girlfriend's Day. Sorry.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Yeah.
And the
okay.
Gwinnett Stripers put out a very fiery tweet that said that you could combat their loneliness by coming to that game that night against our own Nashville
man.
Sounds.
Wow. That's low. Dang.
They
Single
just-
boys for life.
That's all right. Well, look, guys, we're off and rolling here this morning. Glad to be here with you. I want to hear at least one big takeaway from everybody here in the first segment from this week, just something that you noticed. Obviously, the big thing this week was the fact that one, Arden Key 6-game suspension is looming. Nothing official from the league as of yet, but that's Paul Kuharsky reporting that. But also, too, Brian Callahan said this morning, right before our show started, that it is confirmed DeAndre Hopkins will be out for, quote, several weeks.
Oh,
It's anticipated that it's 4 to 6 weeks with a strained knee. So that's where I want to start things off. From this week, Connor was out there and got to see. Apparently, the injury happened on Wednesday. So there was that as well. Also, Trayshawn Harrison, apparently he got hurt as well. I don't know much about him. But today, there's also no Jamal Adams, Anthony Kendall, and then Sadiq Charles is also absent for personal reasons this morning as well from Titans practice. So, but after all that being said, anything else from Titans camp or anything from this week stand out to you guys?
Yeah. Being there, my main takeaway is Traylon Burks is a different Traylon Burks.
Yeah, I've heard a lot.
He's looked great. And I know we say this every year. Traylon Burks always looks good in training camp, and we'll see how he looks in the
It's
season.
all eye candy.
But he is in shape. One, like he looks like a tight end. It's ridiculous. He looks comfortable on special teams. He's been kind of running, kind of seeing where he fits into the special
Does he
teams.
seem lost? That's my question.
No. He seems like he knows what he's doing. And he's been kind of sprinkling in first team reps for the offense. But when he's out there, he looks great. He looks like the guy they drafted him to be. And I mean, maybe that's just the defense is doing a good job covering Calvin Ridley, who's also electric, by the way.
Right,
Big
yeah.
deep ball completed to him
But
Wednesday.
now we know he's not going to be around for
now we know.
several weeks. Yeah.
Well, that's D-Hop. Calvin
Yeah.
Ridley is. Calvin Ridley's going to have to take the weight of the wide receiver
Maybe
room.
Traylon Burks.
Maybe
too.
Traylon Burks.
Right.
Maybe NWI. Tyler Boyd, of course, out there. But what I'm getting at is Traylon Burks looks like a different Traylon Burks. It doesn't look like that same, I have asthma Traylon Burks we had
Yeah.
the first year, or always, what was it last year? He had calf issues or something like that.
and obviously concussion.
Yeah, concussion against the Eagles. But
But yeah, to your point though, Newt, like with Traylon Burks, and I've realized this with other players too, not just him, but when players end up getting married and or having a kid on the way expected, there's a maturity factor that just kind of switches for players.
100%.
And maybe that's what is humbling to him and kind of putting him at this, I guess, mental headspace of peace. Because I've seen it between favorite teams of mine in soccer where they're players that end up having kids at 22, 23 years old, and they're just, young adults, and they're still trying to figure out how to maneuver. And there was like a good 1 to 2 month grace period. But I mean, as for Traylon Burks during training camp, I feel like that's where your grace period is, and maybe catches fire at the start of the season if DeAndre Hopkins is not ready, because what Keith just said about several weeks.
Yeah.
To me, that's telling me that's more than 4 to 6 weeks.
I think it's going to be
That
right up
sounds
until
like-
week 1, probably.
Yeah. When you hear the word several, it's more than 4 to 6 to me.
Well,
I
we're
think
about-
looking at the 8 to 9 range. I'm not reporting it. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
right.
Well, we're about 3 weeks out from week 1, I think.
Okay.
The first week is the week of the 27th, I want to say.
All right.
So about
Normally
4.
Yeah, normally first week's around 27th, and then
So,
to, September.
I would expect, this is going off nothing. This is just my
Yeah,
inference.
yeah.
I would expect D-Hop to be out until at least week 4.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like he's at that age where it doesn't heal as quickly.
injuries
as
lingering. Yep.
injuries lingering. I could see maybe a little setback or two just with his age. He's 31, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That'd be 32. Yeah.
32. He's up there. So I have a hard time seeing him back with the team by week 1.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think week 1 is a bit of a stretch for sure. Maybe a little sooner than week 4.
Yeah.
Maybe around 3 or 2.
I don't know.
I'm not trying to play, prices
No,
wrong.
no,
or
no.
anything, but,
Yeah.
like, maybe 2 or 3 sounds about right.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the latest is on DeAndre Hopkins as training camp continues. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025 this morning. 4's Company off and rolling. We've got a lot to hit on here this morning. We're even going to hear from Tucker Harlan up in Knoxville because
baby.
Tennessee football is right around the corner. College football in general is right around the corner. So we're getting excited for that, getting you geared up for what's coming up in Knoxville more specifically. We're going to touch on the latest with Nashville SC. Our boy Nick Frazier has got the latest from watching that team. They're on a downhill struggle right now, but that's something that we can touch on here in just a little bit. And the Titans as well, taking all of your thoughts this morning on the two-tone blue. What's going on at training camp this week? What are the guys up to at practice this morning even? We'll keep you updated, but we're off and rolling here on 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
On the flip side, on the Latham front, what do you make of what you've seen from him from 2 days in padded practice?
Love it. Love it. He's a competitor, man. And you see, he made it clear because it's that fight, and not fight, but that altercation that he and Simmons had. To me, that's just Simmons just kind of flexing, like, hey, man, this is my stuff right here. You know what I mean? I think that's what that was. But Latham, the good thing is he didn't back down. And the thing that's funny, I was talking to a friend yesterday. He was asking me about practice and Latham. And I'm like, man, this dude was finishing blocks without pads on. You love the physicality that he brings. He looks good. I tell you, he spent a week with Trent Williams over the offseason, so that couldn't have done anything but good for him. So you have that as well. And there are similarities, as far as skill sets and stuff. So it's going to be good. I think he's going to be just fine.
That was ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport from Robbie and Rex Road on Friday. Coming back at you, 4's Company live on Saturday morning, giving you all the latest on the two-tone blue. What's the latest from training camp? That was an update on J.C. Latham, the future of the Titans, on display for the last few weeks. Looks like he's been doing pretty well. I've seen some videos, heard some positive things about him, but with DeAndre Hopkins out, fellas, we're going to hit on this wide receiver depth this morning. And it's always good to hear that one of the top tier rookies, I would say, in the NFL is doing well at camp. But more importantly, this week has been focused a lot on what will the Titans do depth wise. And let's start off there. Can we really trust Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook-Akine to be what we need them to be this year? But also more importantly, I think with the focus being on Treylon. Treylon also this morning was taking the first team reps on special teams, so we know that he's still doing that. We kind of mentioned that in our headlines with Connor's note on that it's been good to see him, that he knows what's going on. But guys, do we really trust Treylon Burks, Nick Westbrook, those guys that have been around, but they've really got to step up? Can they replace that production somewhat with D-Hop being out?
I think so. I mean, everybody talks about this, like Will Levis not having to be CJ Stroud and things along those lines. Like the wide receiver core will help him out along the way. Well, this wide receiver core is pretty deep. I mean, without D-Hop, they're still pretty deep. So if they can produce without D-Hop in that equation and have Will Levis maybe step it up a notch, then sure, that kind of kills two birds with one stone, because you want to see what you have in a quarterback of Will Levis. And with one of your main wide receivers out with DeAndre Hopkins, you're able to know, yeah, maybe we can invest in this guy. And hey, look, DeAndre Hopkins maybe out. Treylon Burks, he's stepped up to the plate. Nick Westbrook-Akine, we all know what he's about.
Yeah,
he's been
never count that guy out.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistent for the last couple of seasons. So I mean, when it comes to that, you shouldn't have any issues.
I'm going to disagree with you to an extent. I cannot trust Treylon Burks yet.
Okay.
Training camp, he's looked great, but I need to see him in game. Who I can trust is the guys you brought in, Calvin Ridley. Proven guy in this league, is needing to take the next step. I feel like last year was a bit of a down year for him to an extent. And then of course the year before he's out with betting scandal, but I trust in Calvin Ridley. Tyler Boyd, I absolutely trust in, because he's your kind of your short route slant. I don't want to say check down, but he's a reliable guy. Nick Westbrook-Akine, I can't count out. Every time I stop trusting him, he does something.
Yeah.
He's your perennial move the chains guy. Treylon Burks, I do need to see more out of him, but so far in training camp, he's shown me everything I need to see.
Yeah.
Or that I want to see, not that I need to see.
When it comes to more what you need to see, it's more of just seeing it in game.
Right.
Okay.
Same with Will Levis.
True.
I can't trust Will Levis yet as, a franchise quarterback, because I don't know. It's a very small sample size.
You don't know what you have.
We don't know what we have yet. And I don't think we will know what we have until the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to start with, is how reliable not only is the wide receiver core, but also the guy that's slinging the ball around the yard. I think that's important to keep in mind, especially with knowing that, hey, Levis, we know he's, an average quarterback right now. We know that he can step up. We know that, for the most part, he's got a new mentality. I think that's the most refreshing thing so far. And Connor can probably attest to it, listening to him in person. I think it's different. play these clips, we can see him on video, but being around him, even in drills too, you can go, this guy feels different. This guy's going to bring something different to the team this year. But real quick, Adam in Portland has a thought on the wide receivers this morning. Adam, what you got for us?
I feel like you guys are missing a big point. It's toxic neglect to the tight end position. And when you have I don't care who's playing wide receiver, man, look at all the good quarterbacks in the league. They all have somebody, especially young ones. They have somebody at tight end that's going to pull defenders towards the middle. So that way the wide receivers have one-on-one shots, man, down the field. It's not – we're super soft, man. They can pretend all day long that Josh Wiley is a real tight end, which he's – man, whatever. Or Chig, either one of them. They both suck, man. Like, we got to understand that, like, that position, I can't think of anybody that's softer at that position. So, like, the Titans, they've missed addressing a big spot in my mind. Like, I was worried about it before D-Hop got hurt. Now I'm like, okay, they've got to do something there first, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Just thank you for your thought this morning on that, Adam. I think that's interesting to bring up. I don't know. I think last year was interesting. Chig was not what we thought he would be. And especially at camp, there's been a lot of hype around Josh Wiley too. I don't know how much you guys have noticed that. Like I said, once again, Connor, you've maybe seen that more.
He has a good point.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I think he has a good point in that these elite quarterbacks in the league always have a tight end. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He's got Travis Kelce. Lamar Jackson has Mark Andrews.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts has Dallas Goedert.
Yep.
What I can tell you, based on what I've seen from camp, is the connection between Will Levis and Chigakonkwo is there.
Okay.
It's 100% there. Now, can that translate over to a real NFL game? That's remaining to be seen.
Right. Yeah.
But Chig has also looked great in camp. He's not dropping balls. He brought in a pretty decent deep ball the other day, pulled it right down.
Interesting.
He looks great. And I know we're in training camp. This is overreaction season.
Yeah.
Sunshine and rainbows or doom and gloom.
Sure.
Depending on what we're talking about. But what I've seen of on-field practice in pads, Chigakonkwo at your tight end position looks great. And Josh Wiley looks great too.
Right.
I see Josh Wiley as more of a blocking tight end, in my opinion. But to Adam's point, yes, you are right. The tight end leaves to be desired, I feel, for an elite quarterback.
No question.
No question.
Yeah. And also, I think it's important in mind, this is a coach that's calling plays for the first time as well. So I think in the preseason, not that that's going to indicate as much as I would like it to in this sense where I'm going with it. But in the preseason, I want to see how often the tight ends do get involved then, to Adam's point. If they do get involved early and often, or if they are relied upon, in third down situations, that's going to tell me a lot. I doubt they go to tight ends on third down, but I would say early on, those first two downs, I'm going to be looking forward to, okay, who are they looking for on the field? And it could be really good that Will is establishing good connections with not just a few of his wideouts, tight ends included, but with everyone. So far, it feels like a pretty even keel process.
I'll say one thing about the tight end position, along with Will Levis and the offensive line. I don't know who said it this past week. I don't know if it was Big Joe or D Mace or Chase or whoever it was. They mentioned Will Levis throwing short passes to the left side of the offensive line, not completing any of those passes. Now, it's not about the completing or incomplete passes for me. It's the factor of being comfortable throwing to the backside of your body. Now, if you're able to do that, then you should have tight ends available to throw to. If you're not comfortable throwing to the backside, your blind side, and or throwing to your front side and not having enough help protection on the offensive line, you're going to see more tight end sets where they're blocking.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to be the downfall, or I guess that's going to be the big concern for the Titans this year. And it will continue to be, is the offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, a year ago, Brian Callahan was part of a team that had Irv Smith Jr. as its tight end. I mean, good grief. Like, I'm not going to compare apples to apples here, but I think he does have a more formidable tight end room.
Chig's got a little bit more promise than Irv Smith Jr.
But the crazy thing was, though, when he was in Cincinnati, he utilized his tight ends really
well.
well.
Oh, yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Like, you can't knock him for that. Like, when Callahan was the OC in Cincinnati, there were times where you would not expect the tight end to be used
No.
and was used and ended up possibly scoring a touchdown.
Especially with their wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd now in Nashville, which is I like that signing now because that's a Callahan boy.
Yeah.
Who was the tight end before Irv Smith?
I think you're thinking of CJ Uzomah.
Yeah, Uzama.
Yep.
Yeah.
New York Jet. Yep.
He showed a lot of promise for me in fantasy. But I drafted him, and then he would have like one catch for 5 yards.
As it goes.
Yeah, but actually last year, the tight end that led receiving yards for the Bengals was Tanner Hudson. Weirdly enough. I mean, I don't even know much about
I believe
that,
he was
that,
a rookie
that
last
guy.
year.
No, he's 29. No,
Oh,
he's a
never
fifth.
mind.
He was a fifth-year guy.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But the other tight end that we're probably thinking of was Sample.
Drew Sample.
Yeah,
That's
so
it.
No, I'm thinking of another one.
Drew Sample was a fantasy gym last year.
now he was. Dude,
Who's the one in
what?
that went to Carolina?
For three solid weeks where I needed tight end production,
my
I got it from Drew
gosh.
Let me
Sample.
tell you, the most undefeated fantasy player of all time. Week 1, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah,
That's
well,
not wrong. You're not wrong.
You
there,
cannot
Connor.
stop it.
that is one. That's a sleeper pick. When we talk more about fantasy, that'll be a.
I don't think he's
great
on a team
one.
anymore,
Nah,
but-
probably not. But hey, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Skylar texts in and says, "I hope that Josh Wiley can open it up this year. He's 6'7". We could certainly use that size in the middle of the field." I could not agree more. I think both of them, even having 2 tight end sets, that would be phenomenal to keep an eye on too, Frazier. I know that you kind of hit on that earlier.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Titans possibly doing that too?
I would love to see that. I would like to see more 2 tight end sets just as for blocking purposes. I mean, I like using the tight ends for the passing game, but only if you have a solid offensive line.
Right. Yeah. Like
And
what
I,
if
I know
yeah.
I've already reiterated that, but at the same time, if you don't have it, don't use it.
Yeah. How surprising would it be if they used 2 tight ends in a passing play and they weren't blocking though? That'd be wild.
I mean, I feel like it would catch the defense off guard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
honestly, it would have to put them in a weird position of not playing man and have to play zone.
Think
So,
about if that's, and I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't know anything. What if they did that on like, goal line plays?
I was thinking
you
goal
know,
line.
I mean,
Yeah.
that really could be something that you could watch for this year.
Yeah.
So, but look, we are taking your thoughts all morning long on the Two-Tone Blue 615-737-1025. What do you guys think out there about the Titans so far at training camp? What have you seen and heard as well? We want to hear from you. But coming up next, we'll talk about who are the future leaders of the Tennessee Titans. Could there be one new addition that will be a leader this year? We'll have to find out coming up next year on 4's Company, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Something that we've talked about is, this team's gone through a lot of changes, a lot of new faces like yourself that are here. And so with that, and, some people moving out, Derrick Henry was a big leader on this team for a long time. Now it's time for other guys to step up.
Right.
Is that kind of a natural process that you watch guys that just ascend into that leadership role?
Yeah, I mean, some guys just have it naturally. I feel like I'm a guy that I have it naturally, and I'm also in a position where you have to be the leader. And so being a guy that's out there, calling the plays. I'm in front of the huddle every time. We just giving little tips and reminders, and always just stand on the guys, being positive, and then trying to make sure that we go out there and play the best ball that we can play. So. It's going to be extremely fun for us this year. Continue to grow together and just continue to go out there and battle.
Are you the green dot guy?
Yes, sir.
Green Dot guy Kenneth Murray Jr. from Titans training camp with Chase and Big Joe earlier this week, back here on 4's Company, coming at you live this Saturday morning, talking about Titans training camp as the guys get rolling for the new season. But by the way, our show, 4's Company, is presented by LPL Financial, Nashville and Patrick Conger. 4's Company, we love planning for the future, so you can enjoy that plan today. If you're out there listening, LPL's got you covered, guys. So with Titans training camp in mind, and the leadership was in question a lot this week, especially with the actions of Jeffrey Simmons, just focusing on him. Obviously, the spotlight was there with him, with the media member. So who are we going to trust long term? That's the main question here. What is it going to look like as we go forward watching this team? I mean, I've listed a few guys for us to kind of talk about. You got Will Levis, Traylon Burks, Chig Okonkwo, Kenneth Murray Jr., J.C. Latham, and Peter Skoronski. I thought those would be some pinnacle guys for the future. And that doesn't necessarily mean all of them are going to be leaders for this organization moving forward. Things could certainly change drastically. I mean, things drastically changed for Murray Jr. because the Chargers couldn't keep him. And now he's in Tennessee, new scheme. He feels more comfortable. How do you guys feel about a newer face coming in, being vocal, but more importantly, he's the green dot guy?
I was on the fence about the Kenneth Murray signing when it happened. Absolutely. But seeing him in camp, he's great. I've been saying that a lot today. This guy looks great. He's great. Sunshine and rainbows. But of all the linebackers in that linebacker room, I think he would be the one I would trust the most to be the green dot guy, to be honest. Let's go through it. You got Jack Gibbons, who maybe has a case for it. You got a rookie in Cedric Gray, who I don't trust yet. He could be great, but I don't really trust him. Kenneth Murray, of course, is your green dot guy. But what you're all trying to do here is you're trying to replace Azeez Al-Shaair, who obviously left for Houston. So as far as the most accurate replacement, I feel that might be Kenneth Murray. I think they play similar play styles.
And it could be. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I really like about Kenneth Murray is while he was with the Chargers, he's got some seasons under him. I know that at times, his playing ability has been called into question, especially out there. And I know that last season may not have been one of the best seasons for him personally. But overall, I mean, you kind of do want him to replace, what Azeez did last year, at least a little bit in terms of those numbers. I mean, he is a good linebacker out of Oklahoma, and he's a younger guy relatively too. You're taking a chance on a guy that, is in his early 20s still, middle 20s like us around this round table for the most part. But being a former first-round pick, there's a lot of hype around him. So, Frazier, is there anyone in mind out of these guys that you think truly takes the next step in becoming a leader, more of a voice for this team this season?
Yeah, I mean, briefly talking about Kenneth Murray here, like he does resemble a lot of Azeez Al-Shaair's stats. I mean, last year, Azeez had 84 tackles. You look at Kenneth Murray, last year was a career year for him. Most tackles than he's had in the season, so it's 79. I mean, I think you're going to get similar play from Kenneth Murray as long as he's able to keep his head on his shoulders and not, no pun intended, fumble the bag.
Right.
But if he's able to kind of step up and be a true leader on that defense, minus Jeffrey Simmons and whoever else like is out there in this, I guess, secondary like L'Jarius Sneed or Chidobe Awuzie, I think Kenneth Murray could be a great plug-in.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then this defense could be kind of scary. But as for the other side of the ball, who I think could be a vocal leader, Tajay Spears.
Yes. Oh, a name that I did not throw out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Tajay Spears is a guy that you want to keep your eye on. One, because I'm kind of high. I've been high on him since the offseason going into this season. I said on the midday show that we did like bold takes for a day or whatever it was. I said that he would lead the AFC South in touchdowns, all-purpose touchdowns. So that's passing or receiving.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Also, I just think he's one of those guys that you're going to be carrying that name into the next stadium, the new stadium.
Yes.
Just
I
the youth,
agree.
the youth behind him, along with just his production on the field.
I told you, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I think they're going to do a running back by committee with him and Pollard.
Absolutely.
By week 8, I think Tony Pollard will be the workhorse back of this team.
A name I
Yeah.
think you guys left off on the defensive end, Harold Landry.
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of thinking of,
But I think he could be more of a quiet leader.
yeah, I think so too.
And then on the offensive end, Lloyd Cushenberry.
Yeah.
A guy that's, he's had reps.
That's a good point.
He's got a few seasons under his belt. I was talking to somebody after they traded for him, and he thought that he was the most complete center in the league.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I was going for more younger guys.
I
kinda
was
like what you
too.
were
Yeah,
listing,
I
but
was too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that would be very intriguing to watch. And, I think on the wide receiver front too, he's got a fresh start. He's really fast. I see a clip of him now that PK actually posted of Will Levis trying to calibrate with Calvin Ridley. So how much can Calvin really seize this opportunity? Because I wonder just this in the back of his head, is he wondering, D-Hop and I, we're great wideouts. We can be here, make sure that Will gets really comfortable. But could Calvin be thinking he's here a lot longer than just maybe a season or two? Because I think Calvin, if he gets comfortable enough with Will Levis, we've seen some deadly wide receiver quarterback duos over the last years. Could Will Levis do that with Calvin?
Are you talking, is Will Levis going to be here more than 1 or 2 years?
No, I'm talking could Calvin be one of these additional leaders?
Oh,
long term.
Well, he
that
has
could
a 4-year
establish that.
contract.
Yeah,
he'll
so-
be here. But as for leader point,
but I think, and I mean, it's been a wash. We've said this several times on the station and on our show. It's like, yeah, it's a 4-year deal, but really after the first 2 years, you're like, we could move on from him possibly. So, but I think it's gravy if you get the next 2 years out of that contract. I would say for Calvin, but if Calvin is at his peak and remains there, then you start wondering, okay, how established is he past that second year in the room? So that's what I'm thinking.
Let me throw another one at you that I don't think you listed. Roger McCreary.
No, I did not list him. The singing man.
The singing man.
Yeah.
Please elaborate more on this. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, please.
So Roger right now is more of your slot guy, but he's young. I think, is this his second or third year?
Third year, I think.
But he's taken a step every year. I could see him becoming kind of your perennial cornerback, especially with the guys you have now, depending on how long you keep L'Jarius Sneed, who I think is a bit older than McCreary. I want to say he's 28.
Yes. Roger is
24.
Yeah, 24.
Yeah.
And then you asked for who?
Sneed.
Oh yeah, Sneed's significantly older for sure. By the way, he is one of the best ranking guys in Madden. But yeah, when you've got Sneed's knees coming in at 27 years old, about to be 28, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's interesting.
He's the youth of the secondary.
Yeah,
and I think your secondary foundation kind of flows through his future. So if he can take that step and become a leader and become kind of what he's on pace to be, we're talking face of the franchise here.
Could be. I mean, that's an interesting point of view for sure. Do you believe that, Frazier?
I kind of look at Roger McCreary from afar. Like, how do I put this? He's not Traylon Burks, okay, but he's kind of in a situation like Traylon Burks. There's a lot of veteran-esque leadership in the secondary. He can learn from a lot of guys. I think if he consumes more up here in the brain, I think he can help translate that this year and also into next season.
That's what I'm saying. All those guys are older guys too.
Yeah.
They're not going to be here forever.
Right.
McCreary's got his whole career ahead of him. He's got a good 10 to 12 years left in him.
Yeah, he's a recent 24-year-old guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're not wrong.
All the SEC guys on the team have had quite some pressure on them, I would say, relatively as of late. So that's interesting for sure. But I thought last year he did pretty well for the most part. I mean, he did get one pick, so we'll have to find out if he can kind of elaborate a little bit more on that and, expound upon what he's able to do. I thought in some bigger games down the stretch, I thought he's able to step up relatively well. So we'll have to find out. But before we transition here and get over to Newt's notes and hear from L.A. Newt instead of Connor Newt, we've got to touch on our question of the day really quickly. Frazier has formulated a really tasty question for us this
It is.
morning.
It is. It opens up the palate. You're able to just transition things.
I'm already hungry.
Your
so.
favorite cookie to make an ice cream sandwich with?
Oh, wow.
Yep, that is the question of the day. What is your favorite cookie to make an ice cream sandwich with? You know, I love snickerdoodle cookies.
Yeah.
I love
That might be the
oatmeal
move.
raisin cookies. Obviously, chocolate chip you can't go wrong with. But man, have you ever had a snickerdoodle cookie with vanilla ice cream?
Warm snickerdoodle.
Warm.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about getting 2 crumble cookies and putting them together. That's just
No.
over the top.
Mm.
Homemade or Publix or Kroger, whatever. Get you one of them snickerdoodle cookies.
Can't go wrong
Put 'em
with
together.
chocolate chip, though.
No, not at all.
Can't.
And if
I'll
you're
throw one
trying-
at you.
If you're trying to cut back the calories, just get 1 cookie, cut it in half, have
Yeah.
half.
Here's a
That's it.
wild card.
Okay.
Red velvet cookie.
All right. Not wrong.
Bang.
It would be too. It may be too much chocolate for some people,
Maybe.
Okay.
but an M&M chocolate chip cookie
Oh, yeah.
I think that is like one of the top ice cream sandwich cookies out there.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
Keezer, you have one specially in mind?
Snickerdoodle does sound really good.
I know, right?
I mean, the classic chocolate chip is a no-brainer. If it's offered to you and someone's like, here's an ice cream sandwich, chocolate chip cookie. I mean, that's another great one. Trying to think of one that we've not named. What do you guys think? What if it was
White chocolate
Giant-
macadamia nut.
I mean, that's not bad either.
Took the words out of my mouth.
White chocolate chick. Yeah, that's a really good one.
How about this? I've seen this before. Carrot cake cookies.
What?
Right.
I've never had a carrot cake cookie.
I've seen them online. There are people that have like oatmeal. It's like oatmeal raisin cookie, but you put carrots in it, like shaved
Oh,
carrots.
man.
I'm not really big on carrot cake. Like
Me
every
neither.
now and then, if it has the right icing,
Y'all are missing out.
then it's good. But I think taking it as a cookie is too far.
Maybe.
I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
I don't know. I was
What do you
going to say, like, the idea that I would have is what about an Oreo cookie, like a bigger one? I mean, it's hard because Oreo cookies are
Yeah.
not that big.
Yeah.
You could also make miniature ones with Oreos, maybe. I
You
don't know.
could.
You could.
What about peanut butter?
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan.
You ever had
Just
butter
peanut
cookies?
Oh, yeah.
They're good.
No, they're good.
You mash them down with the fork on the
Yeah.
top to get
Put
a
some
little
chocolate
croissant.
chips in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
let's continue to
Yeah.
Newt's notes. 'cause
Well, I
the
like it.
speaker might have some more to this.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
might,
know.
He might be booking something.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well, be sure to message us at 615-737-1025. Call or text us this morning. What is your go-to ice cream sandwich cookie? You got to give us a style of cookie that we have just listed here on the program this morning. But coming up next year, as we do every Saturday morning at 9:45, it's time to hear from Connor Newt, LA Newt more specifically. He's got something on the cusp here for us to kind of hit on. So that's coming up next year on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Back here on 4's Company this morning, we've got a big hyped up Connor Newt for Newt's Notes
It's a big
this
day.
morning.
It's a big
Connor,
day.
Connor, take it away, my friend. What do you got for
The
us?
speaker. Okay, let me talk to you. Okay, so we haven't done one of these in a while, and
Oh,
I
no.
figured we'll return to the roots here a little bit. The song, of course, is LA Knight's theme song, Wrestling.
Right.
Today is a big day in the world of wrestling. Today is SummerSlam.
it is.
Today is SummerSlam. So SummerSlam is like number 2. WrestleMania is the big one.
Uh-huh.
This is number 2.
Why was this not talked about at any point during the week?
I don't know. But I'm here to talk about it now.
Okay.
So let LA Newt take you through the card.
Please enlighten us.
And let's do a little bit of booking here, shall we?
Oh, man.
I don't have Chase. Yeah. I don't have Chase McCabe with me today. I figured I didn't want to throw that on Jake Wallman today, but I can handle this myself. All right. So starting off, we'll go with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. First on the card, surprisingly, between Damian Priest of the Judgment Day, the champion, taking on the reigning King of the Ring, winner of the tournament, the Ring General, Gunther. I am going to take Gunther here to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I love the Austrian. I think he is brutal. If you ever watch one of his matches, lots of, slaps across the chest. The chest is all red, and then finishing it off with a power bomb. I like the Ring General here as your new World Heavyweight Champion. Thoughts, Frazier?
Oh no, I like that. I like that. I was honestly leaning towards DePriest, but DePriest. I was looking soccer. Damian Priest. I was leaning towards it, but I don't know. You make a valid point. Those slaps to the chest do kind of
brutal.
They are.
So to me, Priest has been more of a transitional champion.
Yeah,
his reign. It's been kind of stale. And you need kind of that charismatic heel as your champion. And you don't have that on the other side with Cody Rhodes, who I'll get to in a minute. But you want that heel.
Yeah.
I want a heel as the champion. So give me Gunther. Now, moving on, we go to the United States champion. As U.S. champion, a name Nick Keiser will know, Logan Paul.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Defends.
The most common guy.
Defends against my namesake. You know him as the megastar. Today, you'll know him as U.S. champ, L.A. Knight. Yeah. I mean, I can't bet against him.
Is it going to be close?
It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, because
sure.
It is written a little.
It's scripted.
So. I'll say
we'll say it's scripted.
Over 4.5 pinfall attempts.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Over
4.5.
I'll take the over. Yeah, but LA Knight is on that meteoric rise. He was kind of I would say under the mid card, and then he got a character changed. Everyone loved him. He's on a rise. He went from bottom of the barrel. Now he's competing for championships week in and week out. So
yeah.
And plus he's just, like I said with Gunther, he's so charismatic.
He's
electric. Like you cannot be, I play a lot of his promos coming into this segment just because they juice me up. I get so tense. But yeah, that's 2 title changes now from me. So we'll be kind of sparing on the rest just because that's how this kind of works. But
interesting.
We'll move over to the women's side next. The WWE Women's Champion Bayley is defending against the massive, I think she's 7 foot.
The girls are mean.
Yeah, they're mean.
By the way,
Nia Jax.
Anytime I see clips of the girls, they're just ruthless.
No, Nia Jax is related to The Rock, right? His niece, right?
She's in the bloodline.
Okay.
In some
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
I mean, it was something along those lines. Yeah.
I believe she's in the bloodline in some capacity. They're all related.
Yeah.
There's like 80 of them.
Dude, that family tree is like bigger than an oak tree.
Is it bigger than your family's? Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
We'll get to the bloodline here in a second. But as far as this one, I think Bayley is going to retain. Now, there is the threat of Tiffany Stratton as Miss Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
I would be interested to see Nia Jax winning and then cashing in. So Keiser, they have this thing called Money in the Bank, and basically what it does is you can cash in. It's a literal briefcase. You can cash.
So that's what that's for. I have seen clips of that before.
You can cash in quotes, cash in the briefcase for a championship opportunity anytime, any place.
Oh,
so like what a lot of
I've seen Logan do that before. I think.
Yeah, he did it once.
Yeah, because I've seen him run up with it. I've seen him run up with a case, and he like smacks it down on like the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what a lot of guys will do is they'll wait for the match to end, and then it's like their music hits, they run down
announcement.
The announcement, yeah, and they'll cash in. And,
that makes sense.
I gotta go with my gut. Bayley's gonna retain, and then I think they'll play into this. Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton are doing like a best friend storyline or whatever, they're gonna play into this and make it like a feud.
We're
at
the
some
3
point.
best friends
Yeah.
that anyone could have.
I'm gonna go against you on the green. I think Nia Jax wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, next is the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn defending his title against Braun Breaker, former Kennesaw State linebacker, actually.
Oh,
He's, if you ever watch him, he runs like he'll bounce rope to rope, clocks in at about 23 miles an hour.
Jeez,
Electric.
Louise, dude.
So fast. I gotta go Sammy. You can't have too many title changes here. I think Braun is too. He's the rookie, as they put it. I think he's too young, too raw for a big title. But I think they're building him up as this big bad heel, kind of like a Brock Lesnar figure. So I'm gonna go Sammy, but I think this is kind of a push for Braun to kind of go after something else. Next one is really fun. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth freaking Rollins as the special guest.
All three of
referee.
those guys have appeared at Bridgestone Arena at a Predators game. I've seen them on the big screen. I'm familiar with them a little
CM
bit.
Punk is from Chicago, so he's a massive Blackhawks
But
guy.
I've seen him on the big screen.
Drew
here.
McIntyre lives here. He lives
Yeah.
in Donaldson, and then Seth, I believe, is also from Chicago. So that's two
Interesting.
Blackhawk guys and a Pred. I'm gonna go with the Pred here. I'm gonna take Drew McIntyre.
Oh, okay.
So this has been a huge storyline. CM Punk and Drew have been brawling since the Royal Rumble, which was in January.
Yeah.
And then Punk he tore his labrum off the bone, and he's been out. And this is his first match, actually back in WWE in over 10 years.
Oh, whoa.
So I'm saying this is Seth is the guest ref because he hates both of them.
Sure.
So he's gonna play some shenanigans, screw somewhat. But I think his hatred for Punk is more than McIntyre. And Drew is kind of desperate for a win. So I think what better way to get him over than to take down the guy and give him some heat, take down the guy that they haven't seen in 10 years. In a match. I love it. Drew
There's a lot of
McIntyre.
storylines.
Lots of storylines here.
Yeah. So you said it's the second biggest wrestling event of the year.
Yeah.
Correct?
I would say so. It's
Okay.
between WrestleMania is 1, and it's between SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble for 2.
Where was SummerSlam earlier?
It's in Cleveland this year. Last year, it was
so
in,
it's not happened yet.
no, it's
wasn't SummerSlam in Nashville?
yeah,
1 year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I was there.
Isn't that the year they had Brock Lesnar come out in a giant
He came out in a tractor,
Yeah,
a bulldozer,
flipped-
and he literally flipped the ring.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
that was awesome.
Okay, moving back to the women's side of things.
Sorry, dude.
The Women's World Championship, Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. This has been kind of a story.
Yes.
It's been kind of a story. Rey Mysterio, if you know who that is,
Yes.
his son is kind of involved in this. He's on screen dating Rhea Ripley, but it's
Oh,
been kind of a
gosh.
will he cheat on her thing.
Yeah.
I like Liv to retain, and I'll tell you how.
Hmm.
Dom's going to cost Rhea.
You think it's gonna be DQ?
I think he's going to like distract Rhea a little bit, and then you get her for the roll up 1, 2, 3. Liv retains. Now the fun one, the main event, if you will. I'm going to book this one.
What you've all been waiting for.
The undisputed WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes defends his title against Solo Sikoa in a bloodline rules match, which basically means no disqualification.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be a storytelling one for me. Okay. So it's no disqualification, right? We're going to start off with a little bit of outside the ring, jibber jabber into the crowd, maybe some chair shots, stuff like that. Then the bloodline comes out, gets involved. The new bloodline, you will. Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. Not the Roman Reigns bloodline, but we'll get to that here in a second. They brawl it out. They get interfered. They interfere Cody. It's 4-on-1. Cody's going to need some friends. So out come his buddies Kevin Owens and the returning Randy Orton to help him out. And maybe Jey Uso as well. So we have a little 4-on-4.
Okay.
But there's got to be a wild card. So we got to stand off. Cody, Solo in the ring. The lights go out. And we hear this.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
That's right. Dwayne returns. Dwayne takes out Cody. Spine buster. Hits him with the 1-2 people's elbow down. The Rock, Solo stand tall. Solo looks like he's about to win the undisputed Universal Championship. But Cody needs some help. There's got to be one more. Someone's in the back waiting for Cody. So we hear the music hit. The tribal chief returns after his hiatus from WrestleMania. Now Solo's been trash talking the tribal chief a little bit, saying he's the real tribal chief. Roman was weak because he lost at WrestleMania to Cody. Roman doesn't like this. Superman punch to Solo, takes him out. Who's left in the ring? Rock and Roman.
The storyline from earlier.
The storyline that we're building towards. Now, they don't attack each other. Just kind of a face-off.
A stare down.
Kind of a stare down. We're going to tease this. We're going to drag this out a little bit. We don't want a full frontal assault yet. But in comes Cody. Hits a Cody cutter to The Rock. Takes him out. Then we have a little stare down between Roman and Cody. Remember, Cody is the one who took the title from Roman in the first place. They don't attack each other either. In comes Solo with a spike to Roman. And he's all distracted, getting into Roman.
Yeah.
Cody's behind him. 3 Cody cutters, as he does to win matches. Cody Rhodes retains. The story continues.
Wow.
And that's SummerSlam.
I feel like I just lived that whole
Yeah.
main event right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, whoa.
WWE should hire you as a writer.
They should. I should apply.
Maybe they're listening somewhere.
Maybe they are.
Vince McMahon, if you hear this.
Well, we don't talk about Vince. He's not associated with the company anymore. Triple H, if you're listening to this.
Hunter.
And Chase McCabe, if you're listening to this. That was for you.
That was really good.
Thank you.
That was well played.
I thought about this last night. I was like, hey, SummerSlam's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey, I have both of those songs saved in the file.
I'll be
So I
darned.
literally tacked this on Jake Wallman this morning.
There you go.
I was like, I need this.
I haven't seen this in a while. They don't do Fatal 4-Ways anymore, do they?
They do.
They do?
On occasion. Yeah. A lot of times they'll do the match stipulation based on the storyline.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, the main event is bloodline rules, as they put it.
Yeah.
That's literally an excuse just
No
to
rules.
bring back
Right.
Roman Reigns, which
I
is
love
going to
it.
happen. But yeah, I mean,
You definitely had the hit on a lot there.
yeah, I
which is
did.
Good.
It was a mouthful.
It was fun to
Honestly,
listen. Yeah.
That main event, if that happens, Connor, I'm calling you and I'm getting you a one-way ticket to Kentucky for the
Hey,
development
man.
camp.
There you go.
Developmental Hey, well,
You got to love it.
football doesn't matter anymore in Kentucky, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's another
well.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
okay. No postseason ban.
I'm surprised that wasn't your headline earlier today either, but we can
didn't
hit
really
on
get to
that.
headlines, yeah.
I mean, it was just, what were the
Yeah.
most, just the, honestly, just biggest things you guys
It's
saw
more of
from
a-
the
yeah,
week. But
yeah.
but look, man, Brian in Nashville is such a hater. Look, yeah, you may have thought it was fake since the 90s, man, but this is Newt's Notes. If you miss it, then you don't get to hear any good wrestling comments. This was phenomenal.
And
What's-
that's the
what's
one
that
thing
text?
that's the one thing that isn't fake. Newt's Notes.
No,
It's
it's
real.
not.
It's pure from
It's-
the heart.
He's giving it to you. He's passionate about it. That's what
Look,
we're about here.
That's another side rant I could go on. If you think it's fake, don't watch it.
Yeah.
I know it's fake.
Right,
That doesn't mean do you watch movies in the movie theater?
right.
Do you watch the Avengers? That's fake. You still love it.
True.
I don't know. It's just that's a whole rant in its own.
Oh, yeah.
I get that for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it's all good. Look, you get your fill with Connor. Look, with WWE, the suit, obviously, the tribal chief, we call him that from time to time too, but more of the suit. But look, it's been fun kind of catching up with Connor, the latest in the world of WWE. Gotta love it.
Thank you.
Go back and listen to it. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Go back and listen to it on our podcast on 4's Company. You can get that anywhere if you want your WWE fill before the big event. Obviously, plenty with Connor, as always, at 9:45 every single Saturday. But coming up next year to kick off hour number 2, we're going to talk some Vols football. We're going to kick things off with Tucker Harlan up there in Knoxville. He has been keeping close tabs on fall camp there so far with the Big Orange. So we'll do that coming up next year on 4's Company, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
What Brian said.
Hour number 2 of 4's Company this morning here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Wake up with us, Nashville. We're talking about some Vols football. College football is right around the corner. What better way to do that than bring in our first college football guest, I guess technically of the season, our friend over in Knoxville, Tucker Harlan, this morning. Tucker, how you doing? Glad to have you on the program. I know that we're trading the favor now that Connor Newt has also been on your show as well.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, having me on your show. I'm from the Nashville area originally, so I listen to 102.5 here and there. So, you know, I know about the station, so it's really cool, man. I've never actually been on a Nashville radio station before, so this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, hey, there's a first time for everything. Glad to have you on the program here with us this morning. But Tucker, without any further ado, let's hop right into fall camp here as the Vols get things going. We heard from Josh Heupel earlier this week, and also quarterback Nico. I always get his last name wrong. It's going to take some time. Imaliava. Yeah, I always just take 1 second here to try to get his name right every single time. But Tucker, let's start with Nico. Do you really think he can be that guy this season for the Vols? Is he trustworthy enough to be the leader of this team where he can be above 500 this year and excel to even a bowl game?
You know, I've said it time and time again on my show. There is a very, very quiet confidence about Nico, and it's similar to that you saw out of Hendon Hooker in 2022. And I think the expectation this year for the Vols is that Nico can open up the playbook a little bit more than what you saw with Joe Milton last year. Because let's face it, you know, Joe Milton was a solid quarterback. You know, he would win you some games, and you know he would take the team and help it get to that 9-win threshold that it got to last year. But he was not able to make those deep throws that, you know, he was patented with in practices, right? And when it came down to crunch time, he was not able to take you through and get you through in big moments. So I like what I see with Nico a lot more. We've only seen one game out of him so far, but I think that quote he had at Media Day earlier this week, Tennessee Media Day, about road environments and how he kind of lives for those moments, that's something that is really telling about a guy and his demeanor. So I like what I see out of Nico so far. And right now, you look at some of these lists in the preseason, right? And like, he's not high up on a lot of these experts. They're SEC quarterback rankings, right? Like, those guys are going a lot based off of experience. Nico's like 7th or 8th on that list, and in a lot of cases, just because we haven't seen much of him. But I would not be surprised if he surpasses a lot of those guys just with his overall performance this year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Tucker, one thing I want to hit on here quickly too before I turn it over to my colleagues here, but as far as wide receivers go, I don't know if there's an absolute number one star go-to guy. Obviously, you've got Brew, who's coming off of a horrible leg injury from last season, but Squirrel White's also there. You know, Dante Thornton Jr. is also another guy that I'm watching for as well. But in your mind, do you tend to agree with that, or do you think there's someone that can rise to that occasion this fall?
Well, we saw Squirrel really take over when the going got tough last year, right? You know, he's a speedster. He can absolutely burn corners on the other end. And then, you know, Brew coming back, he's finally starting to get full reps. They've kind of had him on a pitch count lately in practice. So I think that's another guy that could potentially emerge. And really, there's only 3 or 4 guys that Heupel will play at a time at the receiver spot, right? So I would imagine maybe Chris Brazzell and Dante Thornton get those reps. Brazzell, of course, being the transfer from Tulane. Very much a late bloomer in high school, under-recruited. I think he grew like 6 or 7 inches his junior year. He was a basketball player, so he kind of has that dual sport ability that translates well to the football field. And then it's a shame with what happened with Dante Thornton last year, because with Brew McCoy's injury, right, he got a lot more reps, a lot more meaningful catches, especially that one he had in the Kentucky game. And then he goes down in the Missouri game. So this is a guy that I think they can lean on as well. And past that, you think about it, like the recruits that they've gotten, Mike Matthews, despite not being on the field for a lot of the drills early on in fall camp, he's a guy that they've recruited heavily. He's a borderline 5-star. And you know what? We're probably not going to see him this year, which is just crazy to think about. So I think the overall depth of this unit is something to look at. But I know I've kind of beaten around the bush a little bit here, but I think if it had to be one of those guys to come out and really lead this unit, I would say it would probably be Squirrel or Brew.
We're talking to Tucker Harlan of Fan Run Radio over in Knoxville. And Tucker, I'm going to flip things over to the defensive end for a second. James Pierce on the defensive line. Some consider him the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. He's a borderline top 5 in most mock drafts. That said, knowing that, what do you expect the ceiling for him to be this year? What kind of season do you see him having?
Oh, the sky's the limit. I think the defensive line is by far the best unit on this defense, and it's right there with the receivers in terms of depth. But Pierce is absolutely the crown jewel. And to think going into last year, we really had heard a little bit about him, mentioned in some availabilities every now and again. He and Josh Joseph were kind of mentioned interchangeably, but I just remember watching that Virginia game at the beginning of last year and be like, okay, this guy, he could really, really be good. And then we started seeing it more and more in SEC play. You saw some of the plays he made in the bowl game against Iowa as well. Of course, he had that pick 6 in the game. So there's a guy that I think is really going to impress this year. And I very much believe he has got the potential to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft.
Tucker Harlan is with us on 4's Company. Tucker, the running back room, a little bit of some depth concerns there, along with the offensive line. Dylan Simpson last year had, 604 yards rushing. You think it's going to be a little bit of some regression coming from the running back room and also the offensive line due to the depth concerns?
Hard to say, because Cam Seldon right now he's basically being held out for precautionary reasons. Like, they've got a red non-contact jersey on him in practice right now. So he will probably see the field maybe within the first 2 weeks of the season. I think anything more than 3 would be a little bit of a stretch just from what I've heard. Sampson, I think, is very, very ready to take that role as the number 1. You had fans complaining last year that he just didn't get to see the field enough during that Florida loss and the Alabama loss in particular. So I think Sampson is absolutely going to take a step forward this year. And I think with the running back depth, it's important for us to consider how Dylan Sampson got here. He's coming out of Baton Rouge in 2022. His name is not mentioned in some of the big time recruiting circles, right? And in 2022, to start that season, Jalen Wright's having fumble issues, a little bit of injury problems as well. Jabari Small is dealing with some injury problems. So all of a sudden, he's just kind of thrown into the fire against Akron his freshman year. And in 2023. So now I think either Peyton Lewis, Khalifa Keith, or Deshaun Bishop have an opportunity, if Seldon's injury is going to keep him out long enough, to be that Dylan Sampson for the 2024 team. I think that's something that those guys need to take advantage of because, let's face it, Sampson will probably be gone by the end of this year, just the way the running back market is in the NFL. So I absolutely think that there's a way for this team to survive the early going of the season if Seldon is to miss some time.
Tucker, last month the Ken Palm came out with, I think Tennessee's has to get 9 wins at least to make the 12-team playoff. What are your thoughts on what Tennessee has to do to make the playoff for the first time under Josh Heupel?
I think you got to win 10. I think you got to win 10 games and get in because I've looked around at all these SEC schedules, and there is a reality in which Alabama, Missouri, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee can all win 10 games this year. And I see that with Georgia and Texas as well. So that's potentially 7 teams with 10 or more wins in the SEC. So you got to win at least 10 games, and you got to hope your 10 is weighted heavier than that of some of the other teams in the conference by the time all things are said and done. So I think 11 absolutely gets you in, but you need to win 10 at the very least. We will see 2 lost teams in, but I think at the very most, the SEC probably gets 4 teams into the college football playoff. I think anything beyond that's a stretch.
We're talking to Tucker Harlan of Fox Sports Nashville. Tucker, the secondary for this team loses a little bit, most notably Kamal Haddon, but you bring in a 5-star guy like Boo Carter. What do you think the secondary will look like this year, and will it be a significant improvement from last year?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. You know, the secondary has been a sore spot under Josh Heupel, right? Like Willie Martinez, his job is constantly under attack from Vol fans here, and it's not been good for the better part of his tenure. And you know, you had a bit of an improvement at the beginning of last season. Kamal Haddon's coming out there and doing a good job defensively to start the year, but he goes down against Alabama. You lose him, and suddenly you take that step back again. And it's interesting to look at it because you've got a whole new group of guys in the secondary. Pretty much, you're promoting a couple of depth pieces, but for the most part, you're bringing in new guys, whether that be Boo Carter, like you just mentioned, or guys through the portal, like say Jalen McMurray, Jacoby Thomas, Tremont McCoy. Those guys all come in, and it's right for Tennessee fans to feel some level of concern about the secondary. Like it totally makes sense if you've got a whole new group of guys and you're concerned about them going into the season after having lost so much. But I guarantee you that those same people would not tell you that they want Jalen McCullough, Danico Slaughter, Tamarion McDonald, any of those guys back necessarily. So while I do think there is a potential that there could be some regression, I think new blood is what's probably best for this group.
Well, Tucker Harlan has been our guest here on 4's Company here this morning. Go check out his program, The Blitz, over there in Knoxville. Tucker, thank you so much for touching base with us. We'll have to circle back with you once football season is a lot closer, but thank you for hopping on here with us.
Absolutely, guys. We'll do it anytime.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Glad to have Tucker on this morning, guys. Looking forward to seeing what the Vols end up looking like. So with that being said, now that we've touched on some college football, it's time to transition over to another version of football. We'll talk about Nashville SC coming up next year on 4's Company. What does Nick Frazier think of BJ Callahan's first game under his belt? The team is sliding as of late. It's now 7 losses, correct? Yes, it is.
7.
Looking rough, looking grim, but it's only one game for him at least. But at large, what do we think about Nashville SC moving forward as a team? We'll do that coming up next year on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers. Pregame at 4:50 this afternoon with first pitch at 5:05 with coverage also available on 94.9 The Fan, the app, and at 949thefan.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, the Cottle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Back here on 4's Company this Saturday morning, talking about the boys in gold. What have they been up to as of late? BJ Callahan, the era has begun. Nick Frazier has brought out his scrolls from the most recent matchup here. So, Frazier, let's discuss what's been going on. I know that you went to the press conference where he was introduced, but also more importantly, what was his first game like? Well, kind of walk us through what the boys in gold have been up to as of late and how have they looked, more importantly.
I will say first impressions of just the atmosphere at the Leagues Cup. Last year, Leagues Cup, it was a new thing. Everybody was there. Obviously, the recent slump that the club has been in for the last couple of games has not been great. So turnout's not going to be great at home games. But they announced like 25,000 people were there. It was a little on the lighter side of things. I'd say maybe south of 16,000.
It's always the bot tickets.
Yeah, it just looks like that. But no, as for the actual nitty gritty stuff on the field, BJ Callahan impressed me. I will say his team really impressed me, even though they lost 2-0. I was impressed to see and a couple other media members mentioned this, like his high line immediately when the ball was kicked off at the start of the game. The high line for the defense, like the center backs were almost at midfield and everybody was pressing. Like he's emphasized in all his press conference, all his media availabilities, this team's going to be high press. This is going to be a controlled aggression. It's going to be everybody towards the ball. If we don't have the ball, we want to make sure the other team is not comfortable having the ball.
Honestly, this is really similar to when Andrew Burnett was introduced.
I was going to say,
you know,
it's more
what I mean?
of an offensive.
It really is. It's like,
like
if we don't have the puck, when we have it, you know, he said, if we don't have the puck, we want the puck.
Right.
So it really gives me that same vibe.
And thank you for saying that because I had that in my notes.
Look at you with the parallel.
I know it's only been one game, but how different is the play style between the Callahan and
Gary Smith?
Yeah, Gary Smith.
Well, here's the thing with Gary Smith. He based everything out of the back. Like his 3-5-2, the reason why he played a 3-5-2 is because the depth that his center backs and left backs were not there. He had a lot of injury history with his players like in the past year. As for BJ Callahan, he's kind of taken over that team that are kind of getting off of those injuries that happened under the Gary Smith era. So with that being said, he played a 4-2-3-1, which I thought was good. I mean, that's his natural formation that he likes to use as a coach. It brings that extra high press I was talking about. But having fourth at the back to me, and I've mentioned this multiple times in the show, it brings an extra emphasis of stability in the back. You're able to have your left and right backs help out. But I will say the 2 goals conceded by Nashville were from the left back position with Daniel Levitz. The Mazatlan was just a lot faster than Daniel Levitz was able to get around him. It was almost an identical goal, except the second goal was a little further out of the box. But I mean, as for BJ Callahan in the midfield, I've fallen in love with Patrick Yazbek as the U22 initiative signing.
Yes.
I think this kid, and I mentioned it to other media members in the press boxes, like this kid's confidence on the ball. Like he was directing passes without even touching the ball. He's like, hey, no, you pass that way. Look at the space over here. Like he's turning his shoulder like a true midfielder should. I'm impressed with him. Not because he's an NRL fan like me, rugby fan, but no, it just he understands the game, and I think that's what Nashville needs. They need a lot of young prospects and young, not projects, but also prospects too. I guess you call it Huntsville, but they need a lot of younger guys that are able to develop quicker than usual. Like Randall Leal, who has been on an injury-riddled season, just not sure.
Just some, I would say, higher in talent, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know where Randall would fit in this type of system. I mean, I know where he would fit formation-wise, but does he really fit the idea of high press? Because I just looking at this team start. I mentioned this in the press conference too at the end of the game that 35 minutes in, this team looked pretty not gassed, but you could tell their fatigue was sitting in pretty quickly. And so the legs were kind of heavy. You could see they were passing the ball around a little bit more, which was good. They're able to string a lot more passes, but the one constant that is still a concern with this team is when they get into the final third, they cannot seem to turn things around where they can possess the ball and go for goal. They're just anemic. I don't understand it. Like I don't know if it's a lack of talent or if it's a lack of concentration or if it's a lack of something for sure. But this team needs to understand that like Obviously they do because they're practicing at it, but just that final third is what the team needs to really emphasize on. Go ahead.
615-737-1025. Share your thoughts on Nashville SC. Frazier has hit on a lot of different aspects of this team. I really like the hire. I think he's brought a lot to the table so far. BJ Callahan is certainly, a guy that I feel like brings the energy, brings the charisma, I think, so far. And it's very early, and you want a coach to bring that early on. And I think it's smart that Nashville SC went and got Patrick Yesbeck, who, by the way, was in Australia playing. And I think in MLS, that's a guy that could probably thrive relatively soon. So we'll see how that does. I think more importantly, one thing we've not touched on yet, and you talked about them being anemic in one spot. Do you think, and I know that it was disappointing, but do you think having Walker back sooner rather than later is going to help that out?
Absolutely. And I also mentioned that in my question sort of to BJ Callahan after the game about with the team being leggy in the 35th minute, if it's just like a chemistry thing between the midfield and the defense, and like having a guy like Walker Zimmerman who's had the U.S. men's national team experience and BJ Callahan knowing him from that experience.
I was going to say, yeah.
I think it goes a long way. You're able to have a true captain in the back line, and that kind of helps calm the nerves of some younger guys that are not really comfortable playing this high press, fast style soccer. So with that being said, I think a great addition for Walker Zimmerman to be back. Now, will it be a long-term addition?
Who knows?
Who knows? But definitely brings a lot of butts into seats.
Yes,
for
it
sure.
does. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that takes the team. More importantly, I know that there's not very many MLS home games left.
Right.
One thing that I want to pose to you as well. Yes, it is Leagues Cup. They lost the first game. They're going to need to score at least 2 goals to keep playing in this event, correct? I believe.
It's
is
a
it
weird
3?
It's a weird way to look at it.
They're in group stages.
Yeah. So you're only basically getting 2 games. There are 3 teams. Top 2 teams go through.
Yep.
They need to beat New England not easily, but they need to beat them by 3 goals.
Goal differential is very important.
That's the second thing that comes into play, I believe, is goal differential, and then so forth down the line. And
a tie, them going to PKs and a tie is not going to help.
Yeah, if they go to ties and then PKs and they win in PKs, they're going to get 2 points, which is beneficial. But that's where you're going to need Mazatlan to beat New England.
There's a lot more to rely on in that. Yeah.
Basically, if Nashville gets 2 points or 3 points out of this result Tuesday, they need Mazatlan to beat New England just to play it easy. And then that would actually be beneficial for Nashville because then they're the second team in that tournament. They're the second team in that knockout round.
Yeah.
And then Mazatlan would be first. And so I think Valeria was telling me that Mazatlan or whoever would finish top of this group would either play like Columbus, Miami.
Oh, Columbus would be tough.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, I think. So then Nashville has an easier route if they were the 2 team, the second seed out of this group.
Both Columbus and Miami, I think, made trades recently.
Yeah.
So that is interesting to me. They're teams that can load up. So Nashville's playing long ball here. So we'll see how that fares out for them. I know Tuesday is going to be a big game for them. So, but yeah, text us at 615-737-1025 if you have any NSC thoughts. Nick Frazier, great as always with your thoughts on that team. But yeah, I was going to actually even give you a little bit. We need to take him to a game, or Connor needs to come with me and sit with me.
I've come to games. I've sat in the supporters section before.
Oh.
I've stood there.
Yeah, stood.
It was fun, but I do have a little bit of breaking news for you.
Oh,
okay. Do we have some football? It's not soccer football news.
This is the National Football League.
Okay.
This comes from insider Cam Marino, who I've never heard of, but he seems credible.
I think I've seen this before.
The Patriots and Browns are the front runners in trade discussions for 49ers star receiver Brandon Ayuk.
I saw that this morning.
Source.
Yeah, I found that this morning, and I'm going to be frank really quickly with it. Unless it's coming from, and I hate to be this guy, but it's like I understand that it's like the Schefters, the Ians,
No, I agree. I don't know. I had to
deep
dive a little bit.
It's tough.
I had to deep
I don't
dive.
know.
That's interesting because I saw a video the other day of Ayuk dapping up or handshaking Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Like it was almost like they had an agreement.
This is going to be a really weird saga to the NFL storyline book, I think, before the season even starts. It's going to go into the season, I think, but there's a whole bag of emotions. Like, it's almost given fans like bipolar syndrome, I feel like, because it's just so
very
crazy.
AJ Brown.
Yeah.
To me.
Honestly, it's even stupider than that because it's like, why is it being dragged out this long? I mean,
Just pay the man.
I mean, I don't really get it. And I think one thing that the 49ers are probably weighing, and we're touching on this news kind of quickly if it does become concrete relatively soon. You know, it's interesting. They got to pay Brock Purdy at some point. That guy obviously was drafted last, took them to the Super Bowl. He's going to need a big contract. I don't know what he's going to get.
Yeah.
But how much are they thinking ahead with other players on the team? Is Brandon really part of that? How much are other players advocating for him? Because I don't think he's really helped his case in some parts. I think in some areas, maybe. But this has been dramatic, needless to say. It's been wild.
And it was Browns and Patriots?
Yeah, Browns and Pats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that as you will. It's not
Interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I would lean more on Cleveland in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you go to Cleveland, that's a crowded wide receiver room.
That is
Well, it
Amari
is,
Cooper,
yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, and then Brandon poor
yeah.
Jeudy.
Yeah.
Jeudy would slide to the number 3.
Oh, yeah.
And then Cooper would probably take the 2, and Ayuk could take the 1, and or vice versa.
If I'm the
Yep.
49ers, I'm paying him. And here's
you got
why.
to.
Debo is aging, and he's been hurt a
Yeah.
lot. Kittle, of course, different position, but that's one of your primary targets at tight end, aging. Brandon Ayuk has the opportunity to take this offense and make it his own.
Yeah.
So pay the guy.
We'll find out. That's something to keep tabs on. Thank you for that note, Connor. I did see that this morning as well. I'm a little bit cautious. Sorry,
I am too.
but it's
No.
all right. Yeah,
I had to deep dive a little bit, and I was like, he looks somewhat credible, but
Yeah.
I'm like you, unless it's like Schefter or
It's tough.
Jordan Schultz or someone like that.
Yeah,
I have a hard time seeing it.
it is tough for sure. But we'll keep tabs on the latest NFL headlines, and we're going back to Titans training camp conversation here. We're going to reset, kind of talking about what the wide receiver room kind of looks like moving forward. The depth, obviously, one player we've not talked about ad nauseum too much yet. We're going to focus more on the impact of Arden Key being out of the lineup. And there's not been any official news on his suspension being set in stone yet, but we'll touch more on what that means for this team moving forward. Coming up next year on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Back here on 4's Company, coming at you this Saturday morning. Nick Keiser, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman behind the glass here this morning with us. I haven't mentioned his name yet, but Jake Lyman out on assignment, I guess as we want to call it, for this weekend. He'll be back with us moving forward next weekend. Everyone's had some vacation time this summer. Everyone's been on rotation. Yeah, but you live here.
I've been here.
Yeah.
I've been locked in.
Yes.
I'm also the only one here that has my own name. I'm with 2 Nicks and we got 2
That's
Jakes.
right. Yeah.
Be your own person, ladies and gentlemen.
That's true. There's also a Jake Wallman in the NHL too. So and that
Is
Parker,
he really?
there's a Parker Kelly that also plays in the NHL, and we have one here too. But
There's only one Connor Newt.
anyway, hey, but the duo, those duo names, they do pretty well. But just saying. Well, hey, we're diving back into the Titans training camp conversation here. Obviously, the headline of the week is DeAndre Hopkins is set to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's courtesy of Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com. So he shared that tidbit, and Brian Callahan came out this morning and confirmed that news. He said several weeks. So we'll find out if that's good or bad. Will he be back at some point during training camp? He was injured on Wednesday, was what was found out. So we'll find out what that means moving forward. But aside from Jeffrey Simmons going ape on someone in the media, we also saw that Arden Key, also reported by PK, that Arden Key is set to be suspended for the next 6 games to start the regular season. What does that mean? That's our focus here this morning. Now, after talking about the depth earlier last hour, what will the Titans do with Arden Key out of the lineup? Will they go sign someone? Will they end up relying on their depth? How much will Rashad Weaver be relied on? What do you guys make of this Arden Key suspension? I couldn't find anything research-wise to where he's been in trouble before with violating rules and being suspended that I could see. At least maybe he has been. I don't know. But what do you guys make of this additional news that everything's just been piling on this week?
I mean, it's unfortunate because the Titans, some reason, just can't seem to catch a break for things like this. I mean, Arden Key kind of did it to himself. I mean, also,
he didn't mean to.
He didn't mean to.
Well, honestly,
I believe that though. I believe that because
maybe
there are a lot of these supplements these players take that kind of go under the rug or not really I guess you say FDA approved or also league approved.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of that stuff can be in their diet and they don't realize it. And then boom, it just gets caught up on a test. So, with that being said, for the Titans' sake on defense, it's a little concerning. I will say a little concerning. I mean, during the rookie minicamp, I believe Shane Ray, the former first-round pick.
I was just going to hit on that.
Right. Yeah.
He was at rookie minicamp, right? For a little bit.
He's been there.
Yeah. Because
was he at rookie camp?
Yeah. Because I think free agents are allowed to go to rookie minicamp and do it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He was there. So, I think that was their, signing to, replacing Arden Key from this point. Maybe add more players because, this team's used to adding players throughout the season because of injury. When Rashad Weaver was drafted by the Titans, the ESPN draft team did a really good job of displaying Rashad Weaver's hand coordination and how he does not Muay Thai, but it's some sort of
Muay Thai.
It's some sort of hand thing where he does a lot of
Krav Maga.
I don't know what it is, but they were showing a
Kung Fu Panda,
a B-roll, maybe they were showing B-roll of him dodging knives and stuff. And he was doing hand things and swatting it around. I was like, oh man, we're getting a really good pick.
Spidey sense.
I was like, Titans getting a really good pick at defensive end here. I was like, wait a minute, didn't really pan out. So hopefully he can kind of we're talking with Traylon Burks and Roger. Maybe he can channel his really good project stuff he did in college and do it here.
Well, he was electric at Missouri.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Connor,
you talking about Rashad Weaver?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Shane Ray.
No.
Rashad Weaver.
Weaver was out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Connor, let me ask you one question here. I don't know where you wanted to go with that, but I would love to ask this question before I forget it because I tend to do that, especially with my thoughts if I don't write them down.
Yeah, me too. It's all right.
But honestly, so if you just look at the depth chart on its face and you look right behind Arden Key, you've got Caleb Murphy. Is there any room for him to fill that role? Do you think he gets first crack at it? Honestly, is he a guy that you trust? I don't know.
He's unproven for sure. I don't know. I would feel more comfortable moving a guy, to be honest with you.
And then signing someone? Well, I don't know what you're going to get for some of these depth guys, though.
Yeah.
That's the really tough thing. Yeah, that's what I think, Frazier.
They're in a pickle. What are the odds they move Jack Gibbons over?
I don't know. They've been really high on him. He actually just had a pass breakup that led to a pick this morning.
Good for you, Dr. Gibby.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one. Shane Ray, I really want to see what he looks like. I don't know if he'll even make this team, to be honest with you. That leaves to be seen. But yeah, Caleb Murphy, he's young, he's unproven, but I feel like, yeah, you might be right. I feel like Caleb Murphy might get the first crack at this.
I think so. I think there's a fair shot that, if you've got someone that knows the position, and I know I feel old school saying that. It's like looking at your depth chart, you go like old man GM, like armchair GM. You're like, well, this guy's behind him. Let's just throw him in. You don't really have to reorder too much. It's just thinking, who knows that spot better as of right now. And then you go, if you're like a Rand or if you're, Brian, you can go, let's maybe bring someone in that knows it a little bit better. That's a veteran that we can trust. But what's tough is, you could either go to free agency, but also, guys, remember this too. The Titans are 7th on the waiver wire too. So that is something to kind of think about, where it's, training camp cuts. Is there someone in the league that is a veteran that could possibly be cut that the Titans could be interested in? Is that something that could happen? I don't know. But I think with Brian saying this week, anything's possible, they're going to evaluate as much as possible, but it's really going to be up to Rand to make that choice, to watch that waiver wire, to watch what other teams are doing, and also speak with them too. So we'll find out how much that matters.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where this team always has a problem with the outside linebacker position. Just something about like every time you go for the draft or you watch the draft, Titans, what are the Titans' big needs? Outside linebacker always is there. So with the departure of Arden Key for the first 6 games of the season, it's unfortunate. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say rather than that they need to figure it out. Like it has to come from, you're right, Keys. You're like, Rand Carthon's going to have to be looking at the waiver wire and just what other players are not wanted by other teams after training camp.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to have. Like,
I think it's going to be a failure if they don't end up looking and adding someone in the middle of this week. I'm going to be honest. If there's not something addressed this week and adding a player, I think it's a failure at camp. I honestly do. They're not setting themselves up for success because, to your point on saying there's not much depth there, like inside linebacker has always been a struggle. To me, I think it's a failure if they don't address it early. If you don't do it, there's going to be more cause for concern.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the free agent pool right now for linebackers. Not much going on here.
There really isn't. Is there any name that stands out? Is there anything that pops out?
A few. Quan Alexander is out there from Pittsburgh. He's 30. Now, I don't think you're really necessarily looking for a youth move here. I think you're kind of just looking for a rotational guy. Justin Houston is out there. He's 35.
No, I'd say no to that.
Yeah. Anthony Barr is out there, outside linebacker. That's one I would be interested in.
Not
bad. Zach Cunningham.
Let me put something
former
out
Titan
there real quick. They mentioned before, they as in the Titans, they mentioned before with Jamal Adams, not putting him outside linebacker. No, I'm just saying, experimenting just different spots on the field for him. What if Denard Wilson decides to, because he's known to bring the house?
Sure.
Why not bring the house a little bit more with Jamal Adams? Not as an outside,
I could see that.
Not as an outside linebacker, but just as utilizing him as like more of
put
a
him at
blitzer.
like nickel and just send him.
Yeah, and then maybe shadow an outside linebacker to put a block on somebody and then maybe drop.
I like that
into
idea
coverage.
a lot.
Like maybe that's going to be the approach. Not saying all 6 games.
I do that. I'd put Caleb Murphy in and I would experiment with that a little bit.
I think
you have to.
Yeah. In the dire straits, I think that is something they've just got to think about. I mean, they're going to address what they have to moving forward, but it's certainly something to keep tabs on this week if you're going to be going at the Titans training camp or if you're following any of the reporters, because I know that the Titans fans have been clamoring for all the latest news and breaking and all of that. So, but PK, was all over it this week. Tehran has been confirming all of these for the most part as well. So I've been very pleased with the honesty that's been coming a lot from these players, but also, I like hearing what Brian Callahan has had to say. The coordinators have been awesome to hear from as well. So, but once again, Connor has been out there. So he's been, in person and seeing it. So, but yeah, we'll have to find out more this week with what the Titans do. I just said a few minutes ago that, hey, I think it's a failure if they don't address it this week. But guys, I have to leave this segment with this final thought, and I want to hear what you guys think is, since we've not heard news on Arden Key, I mean, I thought the news would have come out yesterday that it was for sure that he'd be out for the first 6 games. Is there a chance that we don't actually get to hear this news? I mean, given I've not asked TD, I've not asked PK if they know from a source that this is like definitive, but do you guys think there's a chance this could not actually be announced soon and maybe he doesn't get it? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. Right now, I think I'm just going to go with the sources.
Probably,
PK is a
yeah.
reliable source. TD is a reliable source as far as the
I'm not
Titans are
questioning
concerned.
them either.
No.
But I think it's worth wondering, like,
Yeah,
why,
it is.
Why is it lingering?
It is interesting the national media hasn't reported anything.
Well,
Would you consider that he may have filed an appeal?
Well, and I think that's interesting too. Has there been communication between the Titans and the league in terms of Arden expressing that he knows the Titans are aware of it? And then have they also already said, we're going to appeal this anyway? I mean, that's worth noting. Like, it's not crazy that you've got to have the NFL say, hey, 6 games, and then Arden will come out, or the Titans say, we're going to appeal this. So we'll find, I mean, we haven't touched on this. Autry suspended 6 games as well. So, I mean, and he came out and said, I'm accepting it. So, I mean, could that change for Arden Key? Is that going to be a similar case? I don't know.
There's something to that, though.
Yeah,
Arden
there is.
Key and Danico Autry both were teammates last year. I'm
Mhm.
curious to know if they're on some sort of diet or regimen
I
together.
don't know.
And maybe if that is the case, then maybe that appeal process will be short-lived.
Yeah, for sure. Well, stay tuned for all the latest on the Titans here on 102.5 The Game. 4's Company, we've given you our latest thoughts on that. So be sure to stay in lockstep with us in the next few weeks. We've got several remotes. We've got several thoughts and shows that will come up. Jared and everybody else and company, does really well with covering it. So stay tuned for all of that. But one small note as well, Simone Biles won her 7th career gold medal this morning and is tied for the second most all time by an American female Olympian. So I wanted to share that nugget because she has been killing it. So we will react to more of the Olympics coming up next, making our weekend picks here on 4's Company. You're listening to 102.5. Oh, go ahead.
Also,
Uh-oh.
we didn't really get the headlines. I do have a headline that is pretty big we should
Okay.
discuss.
I love it. So we'll touch on that.
Nice tease.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I like it. Well, we'll do that all coming up next year on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Back here on 4's Company, wrapping up the program here with you this Saturday morning. Time to make some weekend picks here. But, fellas, we're going to be hitting on the Olympics here in just a second. We're watching Team USA up on the monitor right now. They are trailing 37-36, but looks like Anthony Edwards just lobbed one in, so it's 38-37 Team USA. Giving you a little dash of play-by-play, I guess. But, hey, man, we love the Olympics here. We've been thriving.
LeBron wearing the throwback. It looks like Miami LeBron.
Yeah, he kind of does. So, but yeah, if you're watching that game right now, tell us what you think about it so far. 615-737-1025. But we're going to pick first the longevity of Team USA. So, fellas, without any further ado, I know that we're just eyes glued on this game.
As KD
right
just
now.
nails
you guys
the three.
analyze the game, I'll mention my teas from last segment.
That's true. Yes, go ahead.
The PFL was in Nashville last night, Professional Fighters League. It's
and
in
where
MMA
was it again?
At the Municipal Auditorium.
That's right.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Dakota Ditcheva, who was on the Chase Big Joe show earlier this week, fought last night. My goodness, she's been undefeated her whole entire career so far.
You got a little bit of a crush?
I mean, she's an incredible fighter. Honestly, I think she's the best pound for pound MMA fighter across the UFC and PFL.
Whoa.
I'm dead serious about
You think she could hold her own in the UFC?
100%. She could easily beat about 4 or 5
Now,
fighters.
does PFL, is it like UFC or is it more boxing?
No, it's like the UFC. It's becoming more of like a feeder league in a roundabout way. But like when you win the PFL, from the knowledge that I've gathered, if you win the whole thing, your contract is like re-upped for the next season. So like for Ditcheva, it's unfortunate because if she wins the whole thing, then her contract's kind of re-upped.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the Ariel Helwani podcast, and she mentioned that she kind of wants to explore other options.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Meaning probably she'd like to go to the UFC and do stuff like that. But
So a lot of these guys are fighting for their jobs, basically.
essentially, yeah. But a lot of the fighters in the PFL are either on the latter end of their career from the UFC, like after UFC to go PFL, or if they're just trying to prove
Up and
themselves.
come,
Yeah, because like Cage Warriors is kind of the same thing as UFC and PFL, more at a lower European rank. I'm doing my wrestling thing right now. But
Yeah, no, I love it.
But yeah, PFL it's on the up and up, and I think the playoffs are awesome. And so yeah, Ditcheva got a first round KO.
I've been hearing a lot about the PFL lately.
Yeah,
like
ESPN has the rights to it. So
well, probably because you've heard it on our radio
that
station
too. But I'm saying like in general, like I hear a lot of people like it.
But if you went to it last night, text in the phone line 615-737-1025. But I just want to give a little tidbit about that.
Yeah, no.
Keep your eyes on Dakota Ditcheva. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love that. So our first weekend pick that will really kind of go into, I think it's going to be late next week, because I see that the men's bronze medal game for basketball at the Olympics is going to be on August 10th. So that is a week from today. But I kind of want to just make a pick for longevity for Team USA. Frazier, we could start off with you. How far do you think Team USA goes? Do they win gold? I mean, are they going to medal? Do you feel okay about this team? I know that you expressed a little bit of concern with how the team's being run.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're easily going to medal for sure. It's more of the roster construction. People have given a lot of Steve Kerr flack about, oh, you sat Jason Tatum one game. Oh, you sat Joel Embiid another game. Like, if you're beating teams by 30, 40 points, I get you want to have balance to your roster and you don't want to leave people out. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
So if you want to sit out another player for another game and you're going to win by 40, go ahead, because there is a point differential in the Olympic basketball. So if that's the case, you want to have the first overall seed or whatever it may be, go after it. Sit a guy. Sit Anthony Edwards for a full game if you're going to win by 40. That's my big concern. But as for longevity, I think they'll win gold.
Okay. But what? Okay, gold. Okay, yeah. Interesting. Connor, do you have a take on Team USA and what they will medal with?
I agree with Frazier to the point of roster construction. I think it's a little bit interesting. I do find it weird that, you said you're winning by 40. They haven't done that yet.
No.
They've won by 20, but it's not like they're blowing teams out. They play kind of a steady pace of basketball. They hold it close for a half, and then the third quarter is when they start breaking off, and then it's a rout by the fourth. I think they do medal. I don't see a world where they don't at least play in the championship game for a gold medal, just because of the loaded talent and just the way their offense runs. But I do have concerns. Canada is a team that scares me a little bit. Spain as well.
Serbia is interesting.
Serbia
too.
is interesting to me. There are teams. It's not like the 90s where, it was USA and everyone else kind of back there.
Mm-hmm.
There's NBA talent on every team. So I think we do see a USA gold medal, but that's not to say there's no concern or doubt that they could do it. I just got to go with the boys in red, white, and blue, baby.
For sure. I don't know if Brazil is good or if Japan's that bad, but Brazil won 102-84. So maybe that's a team to watch too, just to mention something else. Because I know that Canada, Greece even won their game against Australia, but that's, countries playing basketball. It's very tough to kind of evaluate for me at least, but it is interesting. It's one of the more fun ones that I've been watching. So I do think Team USA I think they limp though to the gold game. And I think they win it, but I don't think it's going to be as impressive as folks maybe think. So, but without, going too much longer here, Wallman, is there a take for you on this? I know you're making your picks debut, but what do you think about this?
So I think Kevin Durant has been a really big addition to this Team USA lineup. I mean, we all saw his game 1 last week where I don't think he missed a shot. I know he didn't miss a free throw. He had like 20 something points.
He missed one shot.
Yeah. One shot.
23.
So I think that this team will medal. Part of me thinks that it's a little unpatriotic to think if you look at this team and you're like, nah, they won't medal, whether you have like a hatred or, something.
Oh, wow. Sorry. LeBron just had an insane back pass to Joel.
So I think this team does medal, whether they cruise or not. I don't think so. This definitely isn't like the team, like Connor said, this isn't the USA men's basketball team that we all grew up watching where they would beat somebody by like 50 points. And
we all, not me.
No, yeah, not
I
you.
wasn't here.
Sorry.
So whether they medal or not, yeah.
You weren't here either.
Oh, wait.
92.
Oh, I was talking
no,
about
I'm talking about mid 2000s. Yeah.
Oh, no,
where they
like the Vince Carter
where they
teams.
just cruised. With like Vince Carter.
No,
Kobe.
I had the Redeem team. That was my first one with Kobe and LeBron. And
so while I'm normally a half glass kind of full guy, I'll say they go silver.
Okay.
Interesting.
Debut.
Okay. I like that take.
Debut with silver.
So without any further ado, we're going to make our 2 individuals. I kind of want to hear what you guys are thinking. Frazier, please give us a dash of NRL and we'll just do 2 picks per, and we'll just go around the room to kind of wrap things up here this morning.
Yes, my Brisbane Broncos last night at midnight were up 18-10 at half, and they lost 46-18. So,
choke job.
Yeah, big choke job. As for anything going on here, I will take the Penrith Panthers once again to beat the Newcastle Knights. They're just going to go for a 4-peat. So taking them, and you know what? I'm going to go back to back here. The Canterbury Bulldogs. This is Patrick Yazbak's team, by the way, new Nashville SC midfielder. It's his team, Canterbury Bulldogs. Josh Adokar on the team as well. I'm going to take the Bulldogs to win. So Bulldogs and Knights. Bulldogs and Panthers both to win.
Sick 'em.
So
I'm going to pull a Nick Frazier here.
Oh, NRL.
No.
Sea Eagles.
Close.
Oh. Okay.
I'm going to go to the Olympics. I'm going to go to soccer, U23 semifinals.
Okay.
I'm going to take France over Egypt.
Ooh.
France to advance to the championship. And then I'm going to go to the Diamond. Another one in honor of Nick Frazier, the Cardinals and Cubs. Great rivalry in baseball. Cardinals have lost 2 of the series. I think they take the last one.
Let's go.
Let's go, Cardinals.
Love it.
All right. Well, I'll make 2 quick picks for you. I'll start with Nashville Sounds just because why not? They're playing in Gwinnett right now.
Yeah.
They just lost 11-2, but they've kind of gone back and forth throughout this entire series so far. So give me the Sounds tonight. I think they split the series, but give me the Sounds tonight over in Gwinnett. Should be a fun one to keep track of. And then I'm also going to go back over to baseball, but it's in the majors. We all know that right now there's one team that is struggling mightily. I'm going to go with the White Sox. They are playing. Look, they've got to break it at some point. And I've not talked about them, but the White Sox are playing the Twins. Dude, they've got to break this at some point because look, also the last time they won was July 10th. Who did they beat on July 10th? The Twins. 3-1. So give me some faith. I think they win.
The mighty team that will not yield.
Yes, exactly. So we'll see how it shakes out. Wallman, give us your last 2.
My first pick will go with MLB. The Braves are hot. They're playing the depleted Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
I like my Braves tonight to keep the winning streak going. And then later today in the Olympics, the mixed 4x400 meter.
Yeah.
The USA team set the world record yesterday. I like him again today.
Rah!
Look,
All
Sha'Carri
right.
Richardson, by the way, gold.
Yes,
Coming up.
I
Feel
love it. I love it.
Eagle noises.
Well, fellas,
The flyover.
another successful show. We'll have Jake Lyman back with us next week in the saddle. It's been a fun time hanging out with you guys this morning. Keep tabs on all of the latest on the Tennessee Titans. Plenty of action coming at you this weekend as well on 102.5 The Game. We'll have Cardinals at Cubs coming up later this afternoon starting at 12:30. Like I mentioned, the Nashville Sounds are in Gwinnett, so stay tuned for that. But also, have a great weekend, Nashville. We'll talk to you next weekend. See ya.